What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And first off, I just want to wish you a very happy Labor Day. Now, we have two huge problems that are happening right now, and I want to address what these are. The first one that we're going to discuss are the gas issues that we are currently facing, which what we are seeing right now is actually going to put upward pressure on gas prices. And I've said this before, gas is actually coming down, okay? It used to be $5.01 per gallon. That was the national average. I know in California it's much more expensive. Well, now we're well under $4. Okay, well under $4. Okay, that's good news. The problem is some are expecting it's going to rise up over $4. Okay, it's going to get back to that $4.50 range. And I want to address why this is, because there was actually news that just broke this morning. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to discuss. The second thing we're going to discuss is housing and how what is actually happening right now is going to change housing forever. And some are saying and calling this worse than 2008. And if you remember what happened back in 2008, you remember housing crashed. The prices just fell. They plummeted. So I will address that in today's video as well. First off, let's talk about gas prices. And if you have questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. And the last thing I just want to say is, if you want to stay updated on everything that's going on, and I'm going to give you the good news, the bad news, and everything in between, make sure you go ahead, click that like button, but also make sure you click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. But let's get into what is going on right now. Because again, this morning we got some breaking news. And we've seen more and more news come out over the past few days. But the first thing that you need to know is that Russia stated that it will not resume its gas supplies through the Nord Stream 1. Or at least not until what they're calling the collective West, they lift sanctions against Moscow. Now, this is a huge statement, being that just on, I believe, Thursday or Friday of last week, Russia said that it was having issues with the pipeline, and because of that, they were going to halt supplies until they could fix what they were calling a technical fault. Okay? Now, obviously, this was not the reason why they were halting supplies, because then they decide, you know what? No, we're actually just going to stop running anything through the Nord Stream 1. But this is what you need to know. Russia is actually blaming the EU, the UK, and Canadian sanctions. Now, Russia didn't come out and explicitly say that anything about the United States. But again, we all know what happened. The United States was the first one to slap sanctions on Russia, right? So the big issue now that we are facing is that, Europe is going to need more oil. We know their natural gas supply is extremely low, which is actually causing other countries to have to step up and increase, production, right? And increase, exports over to Europe. Well, this obviously increases the cost in those countries. I know for, us here in the United States, obviously helping out Europe and sending some of our, gas and energy over to Europe is causing a lot of issues, and it's actually putting upward pressure on us. Right, on prices. But again, this is exactly what President Biden stated many months ago, is that if we are going to get into this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, well, the American people are going to suffer for some time. Now, we were thinking maybe a few months. This all started, I believe, February 24th. So we're months into this, and only a handful of more months, and we're going to be a year into this conflict. So again, it's kind of where we're at. But here's something else you may not know, and if you're living in California, you're definitely not thinking about this, but experts predict this year is going to be a very cold winter here in the United States and over in Europe as well. So if that's the case, other countries will need to step up and help Europe. Now, if they don't, Europe is going to have to pretty much cave to Russia, which is going to put them right back to where they didn't want to be, and that's relying on Russia. Okay? Just like us here in the United States, if we relied on Russia for all of our oil, that's not be a great sign. That's not be a good look on our part. Just like right now where we rely on China for a lot of goods and services, right? That's a problem. That's a major problem. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, here's what happened this morning, and this is where the breaking news comes in. This morning, OPEC Plus, they stated that they will be cutting supplies to the global economy by 100,000 barrels of oil per day. Probably thinking, that's quite a bit. It's a decent amount. It's a very good amount. 100,000 barrels per day is what they're cutting it by. Okay? Now, they are doing this because, according to reports, they're very unhappy with the current price of oil. And a lot of this is due to much of the world believing we will see a global recession very soon. So because of this, people just aren't spending money. They're not traveling. They're not using enough or as much oil. And so OPEC Plus decides, you know what? We're going to cut our production, which will limit supply, because as demand comes down, we have to bring supply down as well, or else prices will start to fall. That's exactly what is happening. So again, it's not the greatest news regarding oil and gas prices, but that's kind of what we're seeing. And again, just want to fill you in on the facts as to what is actually happening at this time. Now, here's the other thing we got to discuss, and that is the real estate space. Now, most people know that current home prices have become very unaffordable to most Americans, simply because of rising interest rates, but also because of steady real estate prices. If interest rates rise, usually as rates rise by 1%, real estate prices fall by 10%. That's not what we've seen. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen interest rates rise, but real estate staying fairly steady. That's a big problem. But just understand, things are going to change very quickly. And we know this because interest rates are going to continue to rise. But at the same time, and it has to, in order to get inflation under control. But at the same time, people are not buying homes because they're too expensive, so the prices have to come down. Now, that's what we're hearing in the media, right? That home prices are going to come down. They are going to fall. So now is not the time to buy a property. Well, there's something even bigger that's actually taking place that the media isn't actually talking about. And I've been lucky enough, I've been fortunate enough to be able to speak with a handful of insiders who have recently told me different things about construction. And one told me about a construction company that he used to work for, that a lot of them are behind on paying their workers. Now, as a result of this, the workers aren't coming into work, which means new homes aren't going to be built, especially as quickly as they once were. But this is the reason this is a problem. There's multiple reasons why. First, when workers are not working, especially in construction, many are going to find a different construction site to work on. But many people are going to just completely leave the industry. They're going to sell tools. They're going to leave the industry. They're going to go find something different, and they will never come back. That's exactly what we saw in 2008. I know this because I had many friends that were working in the construction industry just decided, you know what, I'm selling all of my tools. I'm getting out of the trade, and I'm just going to find something else. And they're glad that they did it. The other reason why this is a major problem is because home builders are relying on deposits in order to finish homes. And honestly, it's not just home builders. It's many contractors rely on deposits from future jobs to finish their current jobs. Now, according to one of my insiders, they said that they used to work for a company that required 5 deposits in order to finish one existing home. They said the issue with this is that right now, many people are not looking at building a new home, and this is why they got out of the industry, or why they got out of this job. He said new people are not looking at building a new home, which means the existing homes that they had under contract will not have the funding that they need to finish it. And it's not just in new home construction, they say either. It's in everything. Well, I actually talked to a family friend just yesterday. She told me that her pool contractor has actually went bankrupt. That we are seeing companies go bankrupt. But you don't see that on mainstream media, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. She also said that she gave her contractor, her pool contractor, $85,000 for her pool. And even though her and her husband will send text messages and call, and they even have to go to the guy's house, he won't respond for about 2 weeks. That's kind of where we're at. I also talked to another friend of mine who does landscaping. He said that many of his workers are calling out due to excessive heat, but he also said that the reason this is a problem isn't because his workers are calling out, it's because of what happens after. His workers call out, which means they get behind on work. Customers don't pay, and then the entire wheel stops turning. Well, if customers are not getting their jobs done, let's say you're going to cut their lawn. Well, if you don't cut their lawn, it just keeps growing, gets too tall. Maybe eventually it has to use so much water that it just dies. Well, guess what? You think that customer is going to call you again? No. They're going to go find somebody else. Now, this person also said that if California continues to experience this type of heat, that he will be out of business within this month. It's currently September 5th. So we got, 20 some days left? His business will go under in the next 20 some days. That's troubling. But these are the things that mainstream media just isn't telling us. And for the longest time I was wondering, why does mainstream media not tell us these things? Well, I finally talked to somebody, and I talked to them last year. And again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Mainstream media's job is to get people to watch so that they can sell ad space. Okay? They're not promoting products, which sometimes I do. They're not promoting courses, which again, sometimes I do. They're not affiliate for certain services, again, which sometimes I am. Their whole purpose is to get you to watch whatever it is so that you can see the ads, right? That's how they're making their money. Now, nothing stops people from watching television or the news more than negative news all the time, right? It just puts them in a kind of a downward spiral, right? In a bad position. Now, I don't get paid based on ad sales. I don't, okay? Here on YouTube, yes, I make some money. I make a little bit of money compared to my entire income. The majority of my income is coming from stocks, buying and selling stocks and options. And this is the only reason why I do all this research, and the only reason why I have been doing all this research for the past however many years is because I do this research every single day so that I know what should I be trading that day or that week. What should I be looking at? That's why I'm doing it, okay? And so just to help people out, I put my thoughts, I put everything in a simple little video format just like this, and I release it on YouTube. That's it. So again, I'm not getting paid based on good news and bad news, right? That's just not the way it's working. So that's the reason why I come on here and I tell you the truth. I tell you what's actually happening. Because again, my income isn't based off of how you feel. It's just not. So I just want to be honest with you guys, because I know a lot of people say, I haven't seen that on Fox News. Fox News is only going to tell you so much. I haven't seen that on CNN. Again, CNN's only going to tell you so much. Fox News is going to bash President Biden and the Biden administration, the whole Democratic Party. CNN is going to bash Republicans. That's kind of what we're going to get. Okay, so just understand that these are major problems. Go and look at one of the guys that I want you to go and watch. I believe his YouTube channel is Southern Prepper 1. Now he does something called Boots on the Ground. Now one of my friends kind of turned me on to this person, but he has some very good information, and he's getting a lot of his information from his community members that live in Kentucky and Texas and Florida and all these New York and all these places, and they tell him what's actually going on. Because again, when you got boots on the ground and you know what is happening, like with these insiders, that's who you should be listening to, not to the mainstream media. Okay? So, if you guys have any questions on any of this stuff, again, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.